Why not talk a little bit about your experiments? Like what like we could even go through like chronological order. Like your first one on YouTube was like intermittent fasting, right?
Yeah. So it would have been the intermittent fasting as well as the stomach vacuums. And then I haven't really dove in too deep on my channel in terms of discussing this experiment, but over the 3 years, the first 3 years of my YouTube channel, I did year-long caloric deficit, caloric surplus, and then situational experiments. So
Oh
through
yeah.
that first year, what I tried to do is I tried to eat in a slight caloric deficit for 70 to 80% of the year because I wanted to see if I could gain muscle while being in a caloric deficit. And I believe that I proved that you could do it. So basically, I ate for 4 to 7 days, I would eat in a slight caloric deficit. If you guys go back and watch all those videos, I show you how you can calculate your caloric surplus, deficit, and your maintenance levels. It's really not that hard. For about a week or two, you just need to eat very consistently, keep your physical activity very, very consistent, weigh yourself every single day in the morning, know what your fasting window is, or know how long, like, you got to keep it very consistent, as I mentioned, because if you're waking up one day and you didn't eat food for 12 hours and then the next day it was only 8 hours, that's going to affect your body weight in the morning. But you do that with, as well as dialing in the amount of calories you eat. So you'll probably need a food tracking application like MyFitnessPal and make sure that you're getting the same amount of calories in every single day. But if you do that for a week or two, and let's say, for instance, for myself, I was getting in 22 to 2300 calories, and every day I'd step on the scale and it would slightly go down, or it would stay average. But then over that week or two, you could see I was slowly losing weight. So then for a week or two after that, I raised it by 2 to 300 calories. Then I was keeping the exact same body weight. Then I raised it another 2 to 300 and I was slowly gaining. So from there I knew, okay, 22 to 2300 calories, this is where my deficit is. I would keep my body in that deficit for 4 to 7 days, then throw it off with a cheat day or a refeed day. So I did that for a whole year straight. I ate in a caloric deficit. The next year, I ate in a slight caloric surplus. So for 4 to 7 days, I would eat just in that 2 to 300 above range, above my maintenance levels. And I wanted to see, can I put on muscle and still feel the same? Because one thing that I studied and I saw and I mentioned in a bunch of videos is that every single organism in the world that they've studied, if you reduce their caloric intake by 30%, you increase their life longevity by 30%.
Hmm.
I'm going to say that one more time, guys, for you out there. If you reduce an organism's caloric intake by 30%, it can be a single cell organism, it can be a worm, it can be an insect, it can be a friggin' horse. The only thing that they haven't been able to do is human beings because our lifestyles are so crazy and it's so hard to study a human being for over the whole course of its life. But if you reduce their caloric intake by 30%, you increase their life longevity. You increase how long they live by 30%.
If I take any organism on the planet Earth, from yeast cells to spiders, insects, rabbits, dogs, and I reduce their caloric intake by 30%, they live 30% longer. The only organism which has not yet been deliberately tested by scientists are Homo sapiens.
So in terms of health and life longevity, I think it's very important, and disease prevention and all that, is to be eating in a slight caloric deficit. So when I ate in that caloric surplus for the year after, I actually gained, at least what I think from looking on my own body, is more muscle mass. Slightly. Nothing drastic. But at the same time, I wasn't feeling the best. I wasn't on top of my game all the time. I wasn't mentally at the top of my game. I felt lethargic at times. So for the third year as well too, I also experimented with how can I just live on a situational lifestyle where who knows if what my food is going to be the next day. I was just kind of going with the flow of everything, but trying to keep again my caloric range in a 5 to 7 day block very similar. And again, those experiments for me, I think, are some of the ones that I'm very passionate about and interested in. They're not sexy experiments like the stomach vacuums where you can see drastic changes, but this is stuff for myself long term that I think has the most kind of weight and can really show some serious changes. So those were some experiments that I was messing around with. I also discovered the oil.